An old man going a lone highway came at the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fear for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. "Old man," said a fellow pilgrim near, "you are wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm, deep and wide. Why build you this bridge at the eventide?" The builder lifted his old gray head. "Good friend, in the path I have come," he said, "there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm net has been naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him." These words, the Will Allen Dromgoole poem, The Bridge Builder, speak of that age-old responsibility between the generations. The old man, full of virtue and full of vigor, spends his latter days laboring not just for his own benefit, but for all of those who will come after, who will approach that chasm and need to cross. We applaud him with the words of the bridge builder, extolling him for his selfless act and his forward thinking. I first heard those words when I was 10 years old, at a summer camp that was in its 89th year of existence. Sitting in a rec hall that was about 5 times as old as I was, and hearing those words, the message rang loud and clear. Others have done for you to give you these opportunities. What are you going to do for those who come behind you? I carry that message and the many others I learned at camp with me every day. It's no secret that I love camp. Who doesn't? When people ask me how I became the man that I am, the rabbi I am, the husband and father that I am, without skipping a beat, I say, camp. At camp, I learned to be myself, to be humble yet spirited, to strive for success and to learn through failure. And at camp, even at a young age, I got to be an elder. When I was 22 years old, I got to share the wisdom that I had gleaned through my experiences with younger counselors and with campers struggling with their first summers away from home. When I was 25, I supervised counselors as they developed their own counseling style and collected their own wisdom. And even now, I look forward to the 2 weeks I get to spend up at camp each summer, learning from great rabbinic colleagues, hanging out with kids and young adults from Temple, and guiding the next generation of great camp counselors. It's a little odd to think of it like this, but when I go back to camp, and even if I have to use my vacation time to do it, I feel like the bridge builder, an old man, an elder. And it makes me feel good. The elderly sit at a seat of honor in our society. Even the world, even that word, elder, elderly, implies a sense of accomplishment. It was the elders of Israel who are second only to Moses and Aaron in the governance of our people in Torah. Pirkei Avot teaches us to sit at the feet of the sages, those wizened through years of study and experience, and drink up their words thirstily. Proverbs describes a head of gray hair as a crown of glory achieved through a life of righteousness. But all too often in 2015, those who have seen and done are dismissed by those who have only learned about it, who, armed with a gadget and a new way to crunch numbers, think they have a deeper understanding of the complexities of our world. Chatanu lifnechem. My generation and I have sinned before you. The reality is, as we get older, life gets much more difficult. And this getting older process begins not at 40 or 50 or 70, but much, much sooner. When we become bar, bat mitzvah, graduate from school, get a job or get married, have kids, we complicate our lives. We make them more challenging and hopefully more meaningful. But our culture has taught us to fear old age. We fear the changes to our body, the perceived loss of beauty and vigor, the graying and thinning of our hair, maybe hair in new places. And most recently, a world that is changing so quickly technologically that someone who is not working with it may struggle to keep up. It used to be that a grandfather would take his grandson out and teach him how to use a fishing rod. And now it's a granddaughter teaching her grandmother how to use an iPhone. It's great that she can do that and that she can learn from her granddaughter. But I fear that we as grandchildren are not learning enough from our grandparents. It's time to reclaim elderhood, to embrace it, despite of and because of all of its challenges. We have let the unrelenting waves of technology and popular culture come crashing down upon us, washing away millennia of respect and celebration for those who have achieved the truly remarkable accomplishment of surviving decades and decades, despite the very real threats that our world presents us every day, and having the insight to tell us from the other side how to navigate that chasm. What is an elder? An elder is someone who has knowledge of self, who is confident in her vision of the world, and challenges herself to keep learning. Someone who desires to share her learnings with others. And in the words of the gerontologist Barry Barkin, an elder is a person who is still growing, still a learner, still with potential, and whose life continues to have within it promise for and connection to the future. An elder is still in pursuit of joy, happiness, and pleasure, and her or his birthright to these remain intact. Moreover, an elder is a person who deserves respect and honor, and those whose work it is to synthesize wisdom from long life experience and formulate this into a legacy for future generations. An elder is something that we should all aspire to be. An elder is someone who sees the benefit of being older, who embraces the aging process, instilling it with a spiritual grounding. An elder is something that we can all be, regardless of our age. As long as we think of the process of getting older and of learning from our experiences in the world as a way to deepen who we are and a source of guidance for the future. Certainly those who are older and elders would have more to share than, say, the 22-year-old camp counselor. But that 22-year-old camp counselor serves as an elder to the 9-year-old camper, just as the 45-year-old camp director serves as an elder to the counselor, and the 65-year-old alumnus as an elder to the director. In these few years that I have had the privilege to serve you as your rabbi, you have become my elders. You have shared with me the vision of your years. You've shared with me the pains you've experienced that come with aging, invited me to celebrate with you, members of your family, as you have reached important milestones. And I have sought the deepest sense of humility to be an elder in this community as well, and have felt welcomed. Although I may be short on years and height, together we have considered and will continue to consider the glorious challenge that life has to offer us. Each day together, we advance in years. And I feel myself wanting to support you, just as you have supported me. To be an elder is what I will call to be age positive. Being age positive means that we challenge ourselves to be open and honest about what we are facing while we age. To continue the process of learning as our years pass, and to seek satisfaction in our lives both in the here and now and through the course of our lives. Building a legacy, finding ways to cultivate and leave gifts for those around us and those who will come after us is a lifelong endeavor. Not something to remain reserved for that old man in the poem. And more importantly, old age is not simply about leaving gifts for those who come after. Our latter stages in life are about reaping the rewards of what we have sown during our lives, but taking the gift of time to enjoy the world around us, hopefully without having to worry as much about our earthly concerns, like the mortgage, or where our next meal is coming from, or whether I have a shirt on my back. To use a metaphor from Zalman Schachter Shlomi and Ronald Miller, our latter years ought to be the Shabbat of our lives. We work and we work and we work from youth to age for the first 6 days of the metaphorical week that is our lives. And then we get to have Shabbos, to enjoy the fruits of our labors, just as God took the seventh day to rest and bask in the glory that was creation. But it's not always that easy. We are challenged by the events in our lives and the world around us. Life gives us lemons, throws us curveballs. If the Shabbos model of aging suggests that by the time the sun sets on Friday afternoon of our lives, that we have everything that we need to survive the last seventh of our life, that all our needs are met and will be met going forward, then sadly, as too many of us know, it's simply not the case. Humans have always had to deal with loss and death, with illness of ourselves and those near to us. But as some of the benefits of the 20th and 21st centuries have also brought us side effects that were unexpected. The good news is that as a species, we're living longer. Yay! We can see and do more, we can travel more easily, eat more safely, survive illness more successfully than ever before. But what that means is that where in previous generations most people had lost their parents before their children were even grown, we now have older parents, older grandparents, what has become known as the sandwich generation. People who are taking care of their declining parents and their still growing children. And in this economy, often they're still growing adult children. This generation is made up of those people who are at the height of their careers and yet have not yet achieved the stability of home and social life to match it. The successful attorney who struggled as it was to get to soccer practice and dance recitals, to provide nutritious meals and have a social life, whose father now needs an increasing level of caregiving, both from professionals and from her. It used to be that when she got a phone call from her son's school during the day, her heart skipped a beat. Now when her dad's name shows up on that caller ID, there's a moment of panic. What happened now? And things are no picnic for her father either. A lifetime of success, a good career, comfortable finances, a loving and supportive family can all crumble away with the diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's or the shock of an unexpected stroke. We have to call out, to name our anxieties and our fears about the life that lies ahead so we can talk about them, or at least think about them in a constructive way. When we were younger, in school or in the beginnings of our careers, we would be challenged with new ideas, new principles, new techniques, and our responsibility was to learn them. We know how to handle challenges. We've been doing it all our life. We think about what's causing them, what we could do to address them. We set a course to confront them. Aging and aging well is one of those challenges. And so we keep learning. Right here, right now, this morning, we're learning. When we come together to worship, we revisit the ancient liturgical writings of our people. We remind ourselves of the wisdom that the elders of previous generations left to us. the fruit of the trees they planted. There are those in our world today who have spent their lives learning about the aging process. Just a few weeks ago, the world said goodbye to the great Oliver Sacks, the neurologist who studied, among other things, the effect of time on the human brain, and who himself was very outspoken about his aging process. On his 80th birthday, he wrote a famous piece, The Joy of Old Age. No kidding. And he wrote that at age 80 he feels not a shrinking, but an enlargement of mental life and perspective. One has had a long experience of life, not one's own life, but others too. One has seen triumphs and tragedies, booms and busts, revolutions and wars, great achievements and deep ambiguities too. One has seen grand theories rise, only to be toppled by stubborn facts. One is more conscious of transience and perhaps beauty. At 80, one can take a long view and have a vivid, lived sense of history, not possible at an earlier age. His insight that life can get more meaningful as we age, if we take advantage of the opportunities it offers, is sage. Here at Temple, we want to support everyone in their aging process and their advance toward and into elderhood. This December, we'll have the privilege to welcome Rabbi Richard Address to Temple Bethel. Rabbi Address has made his career in the Reform movements, focusing on Jewish family concerns and Jewish sacred aging, a project that has been responsible for creating awareness and resources for congregations on the implication of the emerging longevity revolution, with growing emphasis on the baby boomers. He will teach us from the wisdom he gleaned over the years, challenging us to keep learning about ourselves, our own aging processes, and how as a spiritual community we can create an environment where we can explore for ourselves the challenges of aging, seek support and comfort from those around us, and ultimately engage healthfully with our own emerging elderhood. After his visit, we will continue that conversation through a sacred aging initiative, which will develop learning and spiritual experiences to help us all engage with our aging and eldering processes. If you'd like to be actively engaged with this process, please let me know after the holidays. We would love your wisdom. The goal of all of this, of being an elder, of age positivity, is a higher sense of satisfaction in our lives. There's a famous Hasidic story about Reb Zusia, who came to his disciples with a sense of terror and panic. His students asked him about it, and he said that he had had a vision where the angels of heaven asked him about his life. Zusia, his students said, "You've been a great man, generous, kind, and wise. What possible question could they ask you that would scare you such ways?" He said, "They didn't ask me, why wasn't I more like Moses? Or why wasn't I more like Joshua? No. They will say to me, Zusia, there was only one thing that no power of heaven or earth could have prevented you from becoming." They will say, "Zusia, why weren't you Zusia?" We all want to look back at the end of our lives and feel proud and accomplished. We will all have regrets, things we wish we had done and hadn't done. But as our years unfold, the challenges of those later years can often get in the way of the continuation of the successes that we have built. Being age positive, recognizing the sacredness that our lives have at all ages, and embracing ourselves as holy beings, deserving of care, can help us make our latter years, the Shabbat of our lives, meaningful, fulfilling, and most importantly, joyous. Can you Raton?